Well, it's another week. Thanks for joining me as we're continuing our time in the book of Luke. As Jesus speaks to us on the parable of the prodigal son. And here we are getting into verse number 25 now. So far we've reached the point where the prodigal son, he left home, took whatever the dad had for him, and he went off and he spent everything that he had in some very unrighteous living and spending all his money. He ended up being so poor, he hired himself out to someone being a servant, taking care of pigs, feeding pigs. And he remembered that his father is so well off, and he'd probably be better off as a servant in his father's house. So he comes to his senses and he's returning back to his father. And as he returns to his father, the Bible tells us, is when he was a long way off, he ran and he hugged him and he embraced him, and he called on his servants to give him a robe, put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, kill a fattened calf, and let's celebrate my son who was dead. He's now alive. He was lost and now he's found. So here we are in verse number 25, and we're going to look now at the older brother. He had an older brother who was always with his dad. And that's what you read. Now his older brother, verse number 25, was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard the music and the dancing. People were celebrating. He's wondering, what's going on here? They're throwing a party. What's the reason? And he called one. I was not invited, he's thinking. He called one of his servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, your brother has come. Your father has killed the fattened calf, and because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry. So the older brother, was angry and refused to go in. He was maybe behaving inappropriately, behaving as if spoiled. He refused to go in. He was angry. Now, could he have had the same sort of love for the younger brother who, even though he made some very foolish decisions and he went away and spent all of his money, did something very irresponsible, could he have responded with the same manner of love for his brother as his father did? And he refused to go in, and he answered his father. His father came out, the Bible says, and entreated him, but he answered his father, look, these many years I have served you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat. You never gave me anything. You took me for granted, that I might celebrate with my friends. You never gave me anything. You took me for granted, not even a young goat. But here my brother comes, wasting everything that he had in his life, and you kill for him the fattened calf, and you throw this huge party. Here I am working for you every day. He says, when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him. And he said, so think about how the son is feeling. This other brother, the older brother, is feeling, I've been faithful to you. I served you all the years. You never, I don't know how much he was complimented, how much he was thanked and appreciation shown. He probably felt he was taken for granted. He probably felt, well, you got so much, but you gave me so little. You gave everything to the younger brother. He went and spent it, and now you're showering him with all these celebrations and so on. It's not fair. He seemed to think that he was not dealt with fairly. He was taken for granted and not appreciated. And sometimes, we've got to think as parents, depending on how much we have, how we're treating our kids. Some people may give too much to their children. They splurge and spoil their kids. Others may kind of withhold and say, I'm being responsible. And there's a balance somewhere in between there as to how we treat our kids, how we want to raise them to be responsible, and yet be generous and kind to them, so that they not look at us as this angry brother, this older brother who was angry, looked at his father with resentment. So there's a lesson here for parenting. And he said to him in verse 31, the father, son, you're always with me. Maybe the father is saying, look, I never took you for granted. I never took you for granted. He said, all that is mine is yours. I'm actually given everything to you. You have everything. You don't probably realize that you have everything. It was fitting to celebrate. He's saying this is not about that. This is about a lost son, someone who went away, who thought was dead. He's now back. He's now with me. And you will not understand that because you were not like that. But he's the one who went away from the Father, went away from us. I still love him because he's still my son, even though he did wrong. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this year your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and now he's found. He was lost and now he's found. So this is our time to celebrate for the one who went away. All that I have is yours. You're not taken for granted. You're not taken for granted. We may find ourselves in a position of being maybe the older brother who may have that sense of resentment and anger. Or we may be the younger brother who, really wasted our lives and making wrong choices and decisions. The point here is that the Father loves us both. The Father loves both the good son and the erring son who returned to him. And thank God they're both now in his home. All the Father cares about is I've got my sons and they're with me now. I love both of them. They're with me. They're in my home. They're part of my family. I've lost none. But they're in two different situations and they've lived two different lives, yet they belong to the same Father. Same for each and every one of us, regardless of the path we've taken in life. Once we have decided to come back to the Father, that is what really matters. So today it is for us to come back to the Father, return to the Father, be in the Father's house. God bless you.